I wasn't careful enough on the dark web. I now know why people go missing. You'd be surprised how many unsolved crime cases can be explained by the dark web. It's a breeding ground for psychopaths and evil humans to plan the most despicable and unimaginable crimes. That's why I became so interested in it. I'm not evil, but lots of my friends have accessed the dark web, kind of like a trend. I had to give it a go. Little did I know this would be the last time I'd ever experience freedom again. I had heard of the deep web horror stories of disgusting websites, hacking, people finding your address. But I never believed them since my college friends seemed fine. And even if the stories were true, maybe I could find them and report them to the police. Nothing bad ever happened to my friends, at least nothing that I knew of. So I decided to give it a go. I asked a friend to come over and help me set it up. When my friend arrived, we opened up my laptop and began to set everything up. My friend gave me a brief rundown and made it very clear that when I was using the hidden wiki, that I kept it on censored mode, so that it would be less likely for me to see something I didn't want to see. I listened to him at first anyway. But after a couple weeks using the deep wiki, I felt like a pro. I'd made friends and even bought substances for personal use. But this is where I went too far. I had become cocky and was ready to dig deeper into the dark web, so I turned off the censored mode. It took a while, mostly because Tor is a bit slow and many of the links just led to dead web pages. But eventually I stumbled onto a site called All the Blood. I had a fairly strong stomach, or so I thought. But after looking at a few different chat rooms, I noticed how sick this site really was. The people in these chat rooms were actual killers, bragging about some of the things they had done. One man by the name of Culture045 had the stage in one of the chat rooms. He was explaining in detail how he had broken into someone's house, kidnapped a little girl, and brutally murdered her parents by hiding under their bed and then opening their throats. I didn't believe it at first. This guy was probably just making it all up on the spot. That was until he sent the pictures. These were the most horrifying pictures I had ever seen. Close-ups of the poor 10-year-old girl being brutally beaten and cut with a knife. Then he showed a picture of him with a drill drilling into her skull. The most haunting part is that while he was doing it, he was looking at the camera with sheer joy on his face. I couldn't hold in my anger, which was the biggest mistake I could have ever made. I had seen enough and typed in the chat room window, "You people are sick and deserve to die. How can you sleep at night?" Immediately people began making fun of me, saying that I was just as helpless and ignorant as the little girl in the pictures and that I should get off the big boy part of the internet. They began saying I was a wimp and calling me an empath. That was when Culture045 started typing. He said, "Really? Where do you live, buddy? I'm sure everybody would love to see you on this site." I replied, threatening them, saying, "I'm calling the police and having this site shut down." Before I could even type another sentence, a new chat box appeared in green. In it, someone named Admin 1inch typed in the box. He said, "Call the cops and you will regret it." I didn't type anything in the box and reached for my cell phone. What happened next still haunts me to this day. My phone said I had a new message. I opened it and it said, "Call the police and you're dead." There was no number. It didn't even say unknown number. It was just blank. I looked back at my laptop and saw my webcam light turn on. I quickly covered it, but I saw on the screen a picture of me looking at my phone. I got wide-eyed and froze for a moment when the admin typed again. "Put the phone down right now and uncover your webcam." I put my phone down but kept the webcam covered. When he typed again, "Okay then, be like that." Right after, he posted my full name, age, and address in the chat box and typed, "It would be a shame if you and your college buddies went missing, wouldn't it?" I didn't listen to him. I shut down my laptop and called my friend David to come over straight away. I needed someone to stay over with me. He only lived a few houses down the block, so he ran over straight away and we called the police as soon as he got here. That was when I received another text. The message said, "Look out your window." My heart dropped. I knew exactly what was going to be there. We both crouched over to the window, slowly peeking our heads up, trying not to be seen. That's when we saw him. A man in the parking lot leaning up against a white van. He had a phone in his hand, and when I looked at him, he nodded. My phone went off again. "Turn on your laptop now." We shut the blinds straight away, not knowing we were making a huge mistake. We didn't know what else to do in this state of panic. A man outside our house and a whole chat room of killers coming after us. Despite the police saying they were on their way, they didn't sound too convinced on the phone. I can't imagine a story about a killer from the dark web is too believable for them. Another text. "I am coming in if you don't turn it on." I knew I shouldn't do it. My webcam was on. If I did it, they would see both me and David. It would be over for both of us. David ran and grabbed a baseball bat just in case the man outside tried to come in. About 5 minutes later, we heard the doorknob turning. It was locked, but we then heard banging at the door. We both freaked out and I looked out the window again. Sure enough, the man and the van were gone. The banging on the door got more and more violent until eventually we heard a horrible scratching sound. It lasted a few more minutes and then we heard footsteps walk down the hall and eventually fade away. I received another text. "We will be back." That really got to me. When the cops arrived, they told me to look at my door. I followed them back out into the hallway and saw engraved in our door my name. The police began investigating the whole building and they had a tech police officer come in and look at my computer. He began to do scans and investigate the weird software on my laptop. Eventually he managed to close and remove it and told me that my laptop isn't safe. He said the core files of it have been hacked into, corrupted. We did a complete wipe of my laptop and he looked at my phone as well. Just like last time, he couldn't tell where the messages came from and told me that they would be sure to keep some cops nearby in case this ever happened again. I could barely sleep that night. I still went into school the next day with David with me all the time. Both of us were petrified. The police had told us they were looking into the situation and ensuring our safety around the clock. But what could they really do if someone just came up behind us out of nowhere? I somehow survived the whole day of school. David had to stay at school for slightly longer to finish a project, so I went home and collapsed on my bed, exhausted from lack of sleep. That was when I heard it. I heard screams coming from my laptop. I ran over to my desk and lifted up my screen. My wallpaper was changed, and an application filled the whole screen with what looked like a live stream. I couldn't exit out, and the live stream was coming from a boy's house. He looked about 13 or 14 and was at his computer. It was David's brother. It didn't take long for me to see that I was watching through his webcam, and he had no idea. I saw a small chat box pop up in the top right of the screen, and in it someone typed in the box, "Welcome to our live stream. We are glad everyone could be here. Thank you, John, for being here as well." My eyes got very wide. My name was John, and they were waiting until I was watching to start the live stream. As I watched, I saw that the closet door behind the poor boy slowly opened, and a man walked out with a toolbox in one hand. He quietly set the toolbox down and pulled out some duct tape. He went behind the kid and put the tape over his mouth and grabbed him tight. The poor kid's face was in total fear. He tried to scream, but he couldn't because of the tape. They were making a decent amount of noise, so it told me that the kid must have been home alone. I tried hard to exit, but I couldn't. I saw the man take out a screwdriver and drive it into the kid's chest. Blood began to pour out, and the kid made a full wheezing type noise. I saw tears come from his eyes as this sick man began to drive the screwdriver deeper and deeper. I can't even explain the horrors that I witnessed after that. It was disgusting. I noticed that in the chat box, several people were cheering the man on and requesting for him to do different things to the boy. I was sick. I threw up all over the floor, and when I looked back, I saw in the chat box people typing in horrible things like, "Oh my God, that was so wonderful. Thanks so much for doing this." In the box, I saw someone named Culture045 type into the box. "Thanks for the request, John. We did this for you." After that, the program closed on its own. I was sweating, breathing heavy, and feeling sick. Throughout the entire thing, I didn't realize that my phone had gone off several times. I looked at it, and the most hateful, mean messages were coming from my friends and family. I asked my mom what was wrong, and she texted back, "You sent that sick, disturbing live stream to everyone. You did this to David's brother. I can't believe who you are." Those monsters framed me. I saw the blue flashing lights outside and knew it was over for me. They had fabricated the whole thing, and there's no way the police would believe it was some people from the dark web. Take my advice, never go on the dark web.